I'm pleased to talk to you today about why geography matters and reigniting a spirit of improvement and why that matters in Des Moines. And in the first quarter century, actually, first half of the 1800s, America was shaped by technology in ways that previous generations never would have imagined. Steam engines were being used for industrial production and increasing productivity for industry. Steamships and railroads were increasing transportation and increasing trade. Farmers had access to new machinery like the planters and the harvesters that were being used. And you can believe everything I'm telling you today, because if you can't trust a guy who can drive oxen, who can you trust? And as a former Living History Farms employee, I feel obligated any talk I give that I have to show at least one oxen slide. So, as I said, that period from 1825 to 1850, the time that Iowa is being settled, is really a transformative period in American history. And the folks coming to Des Moines have this idea that they want to be part of something new and different. The first settlement in Des Moines, of course, starts with dragoons who travel up. So when you go through Des Moines and you see Dragoon Trail signs, what that means is there was a group of mounted soldiers, that's what a dragoon is, who explore from the area of Keokuk in the southern part of Iowa, where the Des Moines comes into the Mississippi, up the Des Moines River Valley, and look for places for forts. And when forts are first established, they're created not to protect settlers, they're created to protect the native people from settlers who are going to encroach on American Indian lands. So here in Des Moines, as the Dragoon Trail is created from southern Iowa up to central Iowa, past Des Moines into Boone, that's done in 1835. That's the first set of dragoons. But in 1840, a man named Captain James Allen is sent up to find a new fort because settlers are starting to push into central Iowa, and the Sac, the Foxes, and other tribes need to be protected. So Captain Allen leaves in 1842. He reports back to his superiors in Washington that the best spot is in the heart of the Raccoon Fork of the Des Moines River. It's the best spot for a fort. And the map that you see on the slide right now is what then gets built just across Martin Luther King Parkway from us. That's where Fort Des Moines is located, at least the second Fort Des Moines. The first one is a little farther down the river, but this is the Des Moines that we're named for. He initially had proposed that it be called Fort Raccoon, and I think we're all glad that didn't happen. So there's a good decision that came out of Washington in the 1840s for Des Moines. And Captain Allen and a number of dragoons and then some civilians build the fort, and it lasts until March of 1846. That's when central Iowa opens for settlement. The soldiers vacate in March 1846, and our great community is then open for settlement to European citizens of America, or the United States. So that's when settlement starts, is 1846. And this is an incredible climate in America. As I said, you've got all this technological change, but there's also this intellectual energy going on. It's the climate in which things like the patent office are not only promoting improved inventions, but improved farming. And so they're promoting better seeds, better crops, better livestock, and better inventions. And also, you've got great things like grand experiments of agricultural societies being formed. And so you get great things like the Iowa State Fair starting in the 1840s and 1850s. And that's the intellectual climate that's happening. That's the legacy of improvement that we inherit here in Des Moines from our earliest settlers. They're coming from all over the United States. They're coming from the Ohio River Valley, states like Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, Kentucky. They're coming from the states in the Northeast like Massachusetts and Pennsylvania and New York. And so you've got all of these different people settling in central Iowa, creating a vibrant new community in the 1840s. And as I said, it's fitting that we're here in this space between the Raccoon Fork of the Des Moines River, between two great rivers, and that's why geography matters. So we've talked about geography. We're starting to talk about people. Let's talk about some of the earliest people coming in. This is the attitude they were coming in with. This is from a book published in the early 1850s by a man named Nathan Howe Parker. And he's encouraging people to come to Iowa. And he says, "To the young men of Iowa, into whose hands will ere long be entrusted the destiny of our young state, and by whom her free soil, her boundless resources, and her republican institutions are soon to be developed, controlled, improved, and perpetuated, this book is respectfully dedicated, that they prove worthy of the sacred trust, never swerving from the path of duty, and that they exert their prerogatives as free men to advance into an ever-expanding prosperity, the noble state whose helm they hold is the desire and hope of the author." Now, it sounds quaint, and it sounds easy to be cynical, but that's what the people of the 1840s and 1850s meant when they were coming to Iowa. They saw it as a better place. They saw Des Moines as a place where they could improve the lives for themselves and their families. And so it wasn't just books being written. You had people writing to the Fort Des Moines newspapers, and we were called Fort Des Moines until 1857 when the state capital moves here. So in the Fort Des Moines Gazette, you've got this writer in January of 1850 describing what he sees as the advantages of central Iowa. And he reports that her soil is as fertile as the fabled garden of the Hesperides. These are the women who, in Greek mythology, grow orchards of golden apples. And then he compares the climate and the air in central Iowa to the Scottish Highlands. Apparently, he hadn't lived through an Iowa summer yet. So he then goes on to encourage the publisher, and the publisher is a man named Lamson Sherman. He's the little brother of Hoyt Sherman. Lamson doesn't do quite as well as Hoyt, but he does all right here in Des Moines. And it's people like Lamson. What the writer says to Lamson is said, you know, keep experimenting with what you're doing. You've got a great product here in Des Moines. He's the Whig newspaper, and we'll talk about Whigs in a second. But he's the Whig newspaper saying, encouraging Lamson to keep doing what he's doing, experiment just like Franklin, who harnesses the thunder of the heavens. That's what Sherman should keep doing, and he'll do all right by himself. And so that's, again, it's not just, you know, rhetoric. It's what people really felt back then, is that you need to continue to improve. Well, as Mike referenced, things weren't always, you know, let's all get along here in central Iowa and in Polk County. And the biggest issue in Polk County in 1850, even before the Forbes rankings, was improvements, and especially improvement of the Des Moines River. The river was wanting to be made navigable for steamboats, and they could get them up here, but not very easily. So the Whigs, who are pro-federal government, federal support of improvement, but greater oversight, that's their angle. And Lamson Sherman thinks the Democrats are misspending money. Thankfully, that attitude has changed in American politics. Writes that we need greater government oversight, and so to criticize the Democrats in Polk County and Des Moines, Fort Des Moines, he calls them loco focos. So there's your insult for you for the 19th century. He calls someone a loco foco. They were the abolitionist Democrats, which wasn't popular. And then, in true partisan fashion, the Iowa Star, which was the Democratic paper, publishes what it sees as the Whig principles, and there you have it. So. So how does Des Moines become the state capital? Well, in 1846, when we were settled, the idea was that the capital would already have to move from Iowa City, but as Mike referenced, they get to keep the university. So even by 1846, the idea is that Des Moines is a potential candidate, but also Oskaloosa, and also a couple other, let's see if I've got, yeah, all right. A couple other places are up in the running. They send an exploratory committee in 1847. You know, every good government needs an exploratory committee. They look at near Prairie City, they look at Pella, and eventually they settle on Des Moines because Des Moines is ready to commit to land in 1856. So it wasn't true gridlock, but it took about 10 years before they settle on Des Moines as the capital. They set it on the east side, 10 acres of land, and it's where the Soldiers and Sailors Monument is today, where the capitol is formed. And with that, just want to encourage you to follow that spirit of improvement that was being promoted through the 19th century in Des Moines, and also remember that geography matters in a space between. Thank you.